Oh, you see in the game, and I'll be honest, the Clippers might need this. You see Paul George frustrated. There are not many players in league history that are better at getting under your skin, and I say this as a compliment than Chris Paul is.
I had a tough year last year. People think it's sweet, man. People think it's sweet because I was down. I didn't hear none of this my 10 years in the league, but last year, people living on that last year. And I got an answer to that.
So a lot to digest there from the altercation you just saw during the Clippers-Suns game last night. And you just heard Paul George say he didn't hear as much trash talking as he's experiencing now. Ramona, are there still lingering questions about Paul George on the court that he has to address?
Yeah, and there will be until they win. I don't think there's anything he can say other than winning and other than just playing great every night to silence his critics. Because we all know what happened in the bubble last year. We all know the Clippers melted down. We all know he hit the side of the backboard, okay? We all know, right? But the thing with Paul, that something that we in the media appreciate but also hurts him in some ways, is he is so open. He's so telling you exactly what he's feeling in that moment, which is great. I want to know. Don't you want to know? Makes for good TV, makes for good stories. But I think he might have to stop that a little. Just like, if you prick him, he bleeds. And I think he just needs to not let anyone get close to him. Don't let anyone get under your skin. Don't be so open. Don't put your guts on the floor all the time, because people are using it against you at this point.
Yeah, I think, too, part of me, I disagree from the standpoint of, I do want to see this more from Paul George. I want to see that guy that's ready to go to war at all costs, who's ready to put it all on the line and show people how important this really is to him. Not that he hasn't before, but I look at the Clipper team and I see a cool team, talented as hell, well coached, but they got some mellow guys on that team that play a smooth game. And I just think the team in general, other than Patrick Beverley, I think the team needs one of those stars to bring this kind of ferocity to the table.
Okay.
So I think it's a good thing for him, but I also think Devin Booker is smelling blood in the West. He sees that shooting guard spot. He thinks he's the best. One, he thinks he's the best player on the floor, period, which most nights he is. But he's also looking at that two-guard spot saying, I'm the best in the West, and I'm going to show you. And that is just what's going to be from here on out. It's the land of the Wolves.
I was interested to hear Paul say, hey, it wasn't like this for my first 10 years in the league. And look, that is the cost that comes with going to a market with more eyeballs. And I am not in any way taking a shot at Indiana or Oklahoma City. There is just math involved. There are more people, physical people, to watch what you are doing when you play in Los Angeles. And the advantage of that is you get more endorsements because you control and impact those eyeballs. But the flip side is that when you come up short, and they unquestionably did last season, that more people are seeing and remembering and talking to you about it. And you heard the announcer in that clip, I don't know who was on the call there, but saying no one gets under your skin better than Chris Paul.
Oh, and he is the best.
He is a champ at that.
And the Clippers have championship aspirations. They are truly a contender, right? OKC, they were there knocking on the door. Indiana, they were kind of knocking on the door. The Clippers are true contenders. People are going to come after them, and how they answer the bell throughout the season, I think, will tell a lot about their overall success.
I do like Paul's response there, and tied up in that, as you put it, Ramona, tied in up with him putting all his guts on the floor with how he feels to hear this, the fact that he is hearing it, was his response. And I'm happy with the overall comment, because he said, I have to prove it to people. I know that. I'm on a mission to do that this year. I think that's a big deal to hear him say that. I give him a lot of credit for having that kind of accountability, and he really has since the first time he stepped in front of a podium for the Clippers this season. So I'm interested to see where we go there. And I want to talk about the other side of that matchup, too, because the Suns tied for the second best record, not in the West, guys, in the league at 5-2. Our researcher, Michael Schwartz, could barely come to work today because of all the dancing he's been doing for the past week. They are third in defensive efficiency, fourth in net efficiency, and first in limiting opponents' made three-point field goals per game. I told you our researcher is a big fan of this team. We get all the stats from Phoenix Suns. Fizz, are you buying the Suns' hot start to continue deep into the season?
I absolutely am buying it. First off, let's credit James Jones with putting an awesome team together. Monty Williams should have never been an assistant coach. This guy is a big-time head coach in the NBA. He's a tactician. He gets the most out of his guys. And you're talking about Chris Paul, the great competitor. You're talking about a Devin Booker who's breaking through to getting into conversations like MVP. And you got a big-time 7-footer who's back there learning how to defend on a nightly basis and bring energy and effort to the game, I like them. I don't know if they can hold this spot.
Right.
But I think that we are looking at a playoff team, and we're looking at a dangerous team when it comes to those playoffs.
Well, look, they were a team that was a revelation in the bubble, right? Like Devin Booker was the star of the bubble. They were great. But when you add a guy like Chris Paul, the question is it going to be a seamless transition? So far, it has been. And I think the big stat that you put up there that is most telling to me is they're doing it with defense. It's not just about the way Chris Paul's organizing the offense, the way three-pointers right now. Like Devin Booker hasn't actually been as good as he was in the bubble. He's 5.5 turnovers a game. He's got to clean that up a little bit. But when you have that defense, when you're organized on that end of the floor, you're going to be in a lot of games. And I think that's where you give credit to Monty Williams and his staff for bringing this team together on that end of the floor.
Absolutely. And I think Chris Paul and Monty Williams already had that connection.
For sure.
So talking about seamless, I mean, you already played for a guy. You've already been in the trench with him. You know what to expect from him. Monty handed that thing over to Chris, and now he's got a coach on the floor. I expect this team to be really good this year.
All I know is when the karma fairy is walking around handing out good things, Monty Williams deserves all of them. All the good karma
awesome
for him. And I would also say, look, 5-2, it's a start, right? It's not going to guarantee a playoff spot. It's not going to do any of that stuff. But I will say it's a shorter season. I just have to keep saying it. Each game is not one of 82. It's one of 72. That makes a difference. And so these starts are something we got to pay a little bit more attention to.
I agree.
I do want to take some time to pay our respects also to Paul Westphal. Died at the age of 70 on Saturday. Westphal diagnosed with cancer in August of last year. As a player, he won a title with Boston in 74, then helped the Suns to their first NBA Finals appearance in 76. As an NBA coach, Westphal went 318-279, including a trip to the 93 Finals and 2 conference semifinals with the Suns. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2019. And, Coach, can you just tell us about the impact Paul Westphal had on basketball coaches at all levels?
Oh, I mean, he had a huge impact on coaches. I think what he did with that Phoenix team was fantastic. That team was so fun to watch. They were exciting. And if it wasn't for a guy named Michael Jordan, you know, we'd probably be talking about the Phoenix Suns.
Who? I'm sorry.
But, you know, as
mentioned on this network
as a player, my grandfather, and I'm black and white, so I can say this. My grandfather would always say, that's a bad white boy.
You speak for all races and all people.
Exactly. So I can say that he could ball. And I think as a ball player, he had so much respect from everyone. But then as a coach, I think he just had a great connectivity, and guys really liked playing for him. And I know some people that worked for him, they loved working for him, and it's just really sad to see, and condolences to his family. Look at that. What a career.
Well, his book came out this year, so you can go and read a whole bunch more about him. I was just impressed at how long a career he had and how much of an impact he made as a player, as a coach, on so many of the great players in this league. And you talk about him as a player, he lost a bit of his career to injury. When he came back, though, comeback player of the year. And I think I just look at him, man, 70 years old. He just got diagnosed with this. It was real quick, and it's so sad right now when people pass because you can't go see him. You can't talk to him. You can't tell him you love him.
Yeah.
Very difficult for a lot of the NBA family because for as much as we just talked about all of his contributions on the court, there just isn't a person who spent time with Paul Westphal who wouldn't tell you, oh, well, he was even better as a human being. They're just, I mean, that's the impact he had on everyone he touched. So our condolences to his family and everybody who loved him. All right, guys, coming up. The Jump's longest running soap opera is back. Oh, yes, it's spicier than ever. Play the music. Stick around to find out why 2 fathers of Kings players are starting stuff on Twitter. Because, of course, they are.